Hopefully I'm talking to some enthusiastic role players, people who are excited to explore different characters, those that they might not play otherwise in a game which is often about heroic heroes doing heroic things heroically. Now this is not a video for edgelords, this isn't one for winding up your fellow players. Don't do that, we're friends, stop it. This video is a guide to anyone who's excited to explore these more nuanced, these admittedly difficult characters. What can we do as players to make them interesting and not just one-dimensional? And what can we do as game masters to ensure that our resident little kleptomaniac doesn't ruin the fun for everyone else? My name's Rich, this is Renegade Rolls, and let's be storytellers together with our friends. Regardless of the game system that we're playing a liar, a thief, a rogue, a charlatan, it can be a load of fun to play, but they can also spell trouble for you as a player, for the rest of the party, and for your GM who's trying to manage all of this nonsense all at once. You'll often find that the goals of this self-centered person can be at odds with the rest of the group. While they might want to go off and save the kingdom from monsters, your character might be more motivated to, well, steal their gold while they're away, or to do other sneaky, nasty things. This conflict of the character's personal goals versus the overarching campaign goals that often the rest of the party will want to be involved with. This is a source of most of the tensions and most of the difficulty when running this kind of character. But it doesn't start from that conflict of goals. It actually starts right at the beginning. It starts at character creation and when the party first comes together. Adventuring parties who stick together just because you're the protagonist, just because you're the players, and you wouldn't have much fun if you're separated. In World, that's going to feel awkward, that's going to feel a bit false, and it's something which, if not noticed early, it can lead to big trouble down the line. Hey, dude, really? It's who I am as a person. It's my backstory and everything. Well, I'd have never gone adventuring with a thief like you in the first place. What do we do? Nasty, deceptive, self-centered characters are actually a contradiction. They should not exist within an adventuring party of generally good people. Unless you're playing a deliberately evil campaign, then something's broken. Here's why. An adventuring party is a group who trust each other. They are putting their lives on the line for each other and going above and beyond the call of duty to do some incredible things. So why would they bring this loose cannon with them? Why would they bring this nasty person along in the first place? Often I'll start my games, whether that's for a one-shot or a campaign, by saying that you are a group of adventurers who have been together for a little while. You've already done some cool things together, but your adventure is just getting started. The question becomes, well, how has this horrible person stayed with them for so long? Why haven't they kicked them out ages ago? And the reason why often isn't explored, because we're players around a table and we just want to have a good time together. We want to include everyone. I want to help solve that fundamental problem. Why would I, the cunning, nasty thief, want to travel with those do-gooders anyway? And from the other perspective, why should we, generally nice people, want to stick around with this person at all? For the detail on thinking through every step of this character creation process to make an interesting, a likeable, a fully fleshed out character, well, I sat down with the fabulous Ryan Doyle of Verdigris Table. We went through all the steps of character creation in his book Explosive Creation, and the result is awesome. Check out that video and the book when you get a chance, because there is so much good stuff in both. The result? Well, here he is, in his own words. Thanks for letting me sit here tonight. Appreciate that. Oh, I'm fast. That's my thing. They'll never catch me. They never will. It's a joy to see them try. When I was 11, I made one of those mistakes that leaves you. It leaves you dead. I don't know why the gods cared about me that day and not before, but I saw a mark. This well-dressed old lady walking down a back street lane. I jumped out from an alcove, cut the cord, grabbed the purse, and, well, I thought it was clean away when a hand clamped around my neck like a vice. She said, "I don't know you and you're not on my lists. And you're not hanging from a gallows, so you must be good, boy. You're the first in a decade to get that close." As a player, it's important to remember your character is not a monster. There's very few people in the real world who will rob and steal and lie and cheat and murder 24/7. Most folks who do those kind of things actually lead fairly regular lives the rest of the time. These real world villains probably do have friends and family and connections who they don't steal from. Acting this way constantly would leave someone with no friends, no connections, and completely outside of society. So while within your character there might be that urge to do nasty things, you've got to suppress it. You've got to push it down, at least for a while. Choose your moment to do your sneaky things, and above all, make sure that nobody else notices. Make sure nobody else knows apart from your victim. A great way to keep your character right, and a way which is used a lot in fiction, is to give your character a code. Robin Hood robs from the rich, gives to the poor. Many assassins would only kill if it was part of a contract, and even Dexter had lines he wouldn't cross, although he ended up murdering most of his friends and family anyway, so he's maybe not the best of examples. Whoa, 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 easy folks, put those daggers away. I am not going to steal from you, that's for sure. If nothing else, I've got a code. That's all I've got left, so might as well keep to that. But that's the thing. First off, only steal from folk who can afford it. And quite frankly, that's not you. Second, never intentionally kill. Never have, never will. Number 3, most important. Getting caught is bad. Betraying your crew, well, that's unforgivable. When you're creating this character, you need to give them more about themselves, a bit more substance than just stealing things, killing folks. They need to be likeable enough in other ways for the rest of the party not to kick them out. Are they really good at what they do to benefit the rest of the group? Are they funny? Are they kind? Are they super charismatic? Do they have another side to themselves which another member of the party might empathise with? Maybe they take all their ill-gotten gains and give them to an orphanage. Sharing that softer side, giving some more depth, giving some more nuance to the character. And it'll give your character some cover so that the rest of the party don't go asking awkward questions about your backstory or your dark, dark secrets. Every character, regardless of if they're nice or if they're nasty, should still have some secrets. They shouldn't be a complete open book, because it gives opportunities to develop them during play and develop the relationship between the character and the rest of the party as your campaign goes on. It's tempting to have a deep, deep, dark secret that can never be revealed, but that's less fun. It's actually more enjoyable to have a secret that comes out during play. As a scumbag, as a downright nasty person, your character is likely to be quite morally flexible. They're likely to be persuadable, and they're likely to change course of action based on what's around them. In order to stay alive, these people are probably absolute pragmatists. As a player, give your character these contrary opinions, give them these contrary points of view to start little arguments, but be willing to back down. Your character will probably realise there's no point in being stubborn or really pushing hard for a particular course of action, because that'll get them kicked out of the group. So much better is to raise these ideas, accept that you'll get shot down 9 times out of 10, but that 1 time out of 10, that's going to be a lucrative payday for your character. It's likely that your character's goals are going to be at odds with what the rest of the party wants to achieve, but that's okay, as long as your character is willing to put them on the back burner and to look for other opportunities to make them happen. It's important for your character to be able to justify their actions. If you say, oh, I'm having that because I like taking things, that's not good. We can do better. I'm taking that so I can give it to the orphans. You don't hate orphans, do you? God, I thought I was the bad person, but here's you hating orphans. Above all, a good scoundrel is really, really smart. They don't steal everything, they don't lie to everyone, they don't murder everyone either. They choose their targets very carefully. The thief who tries to steal everything, they won't remain a thief for long. They'll make enemies either on the law enforcement side or in the underworld, and they'll get their comeuppance very, very soon. So be smart, be pragmatic, accept defeat sometime, but you will live to fight another day, and maybe, just maybe, get everything that your twisted little heart desires. Next thing I knew, I was eating at her table, then learning the craft, running with the Midnight's ravens, or just the ravens. The midnight part was just to give some glamour and mystique, that's what Mabel said. And she should know, she was a legend. She was the only one to try and hit Opulescent Vault and make it out alive. As for me, I got good. I learned the power of information and finesse. 50 little jobs are nothing compared to one big one. But that's the thing. I was good, but this boy Reese, he was better. I had the speed, he had the knack for already being where he needed to be. We were fast friends and furious enemies, depending on the day of the week, always trying to outdo each other. When he made his move though, I was clueless, I really was. Suddenly, I was out and hated by all my former friends. So I did what I do best. I ran, and I ran fast. I ran here, to you. Thank you for taking me in. Give me some warmth by the fire. A general note for any character, regardless of if you're trying to play this roguish type or not, they've got to be willing to change. They've got to be willing to be affected by the story and affected by their fellow characters. Someone who is on a fixed path in life. They've got that route and they are going straight down there. they're not particularly interesting. Their story is not going to be as engaging as a story of someone who is changed by events and comes out as a different person, hopefully a better person, on the other side. Game Masters, before you start, it's worth being very sure that the player that's coming to you with this roguish character, they're not just being edgy, they're not just being difficult. I'm going to assume you play with nice people, you don't have any problem players, but if you're unsure, have a word. Understand what it is that this player wants from this character. Understand what they are trying to achieve with them. Hopefully they'll say something like, well, I'm trying to tell this interesting story, I thought it'd be cool to do a character which is a bit outside the usual, but I still want them to be friends with the others, I still want them to be part of the team. That's a big green flag. If they say something like that, well, everything is golden. You are good, and you can then progress in figuring out more detail, more nuance of this character together. Even if you like this character concept, even if you know that this player is going to play them well, it's still worth considering, does this fit into your campaign theme? Does this fit with the tone and the vibes that you're trying to achieve here? The style of game you're planning on running, well, that might not fit that character very well. If there's some backstreet fast-talking chancer, how's that going to go when they're up against a god or some other like high-level play opposition? As Game Master, you always have the power to veto. It's completely okay to say, nope, sorry, I don't think that's going to work for this game. When running games for these kind of characters, it's important to give them opportunities to shine, but you also need to rein them in as well. Here's a couple of tips for both. Your roguish player will actually appreciate it if they get auto success for some trivial stuff. If there's a door which is simply locked, they can get through that easy, no problem. This is totally their wheelhouse, they should manage that 99 times out of 100. So don't make them roll a dice for that. The only time you should be asking for a dice roll for a professional who's doing their profession is when there's time pressure, or there's some other factors making things uncertain. If they're just doing their run-of-the-mill job, let them succeed, and let them narrate how it goes. For the trickster, for the traitor, for the kleptomaniac, find some easier marks than the party. Give them some foil to go up against. Have lots of merchants with bulging coin purses on their hips. Easy pickings for a professional such as ours. The reason for this is to make sure that your roguish player doesn't go after the party members themselves on a regular basis. It's likely that your liar thief character's goals are not going to line up with the goals of the rest of the party. While the character wants to get all the gold or trick their way into high society, the rest of the party are likely to be out there doing good, saving the world, doing all of the heroic stuff. The challenge for you as Game Master is finding ways for those two worlds to collide, to come together in such a way that this roguish character, yes, they're still achieving their goals, they're still advancing in their world, but they're helping the others, and everyone is on the same team. This can be easier said than done, so it's important to have ways of reining in these troublesome characters. One of my favourite ways of doing this, and a way of keeping these roguish characters honest, is to show them the consequences of failure, show them the consequences of their action if they're not very, very careful. Depending on the world that you're running, there's likely going to be some sort of law enforcement, whether organised officially or the unofficial rule of the street. Show that character that if they get caught, if they found out, then the consequences are not going to be worth it. This should help that character and the player playing them to focus their mind and to really think about if it's worth it going for this mark, going for this particular target. As these roguish characters are likely to be contrarians in some way or another, it's worth giving them a foil. It's worth giving them someone in the world to go up against. It might be that person's already in the party. The cliche of the paladin and the rogue always at each other's throats is there for a reason. They've got very different outlooks on life and are likely to disagree on so many things. As GM, if you're looking to add an NPC into the mix, it's worth thinking about the traits of that roguish character. What is it about themselves that they like or dislike? Take some of those and then implant them into an external character. If your thief thinks of themselves as the sneakiest, most conniving person, give them a nemesis. Give them someone else out there who is so much like them, but is against them in so many ways. If the player character is an assassin, put out a bounty on them, see how they react. The hunter becomes the hunted. It'd be all kinds of fun. It's also a particular delight to steal from the thief. It should be used sparingly because it will feel a bit unfair, especially if this character's gone to a lot of effort to acquire their ill-gotten gains. It's almost inevitable that sooner or later there will be a showdown within the party. Either they need to mend their ways or they are out the door. It's something which can happen organically and can be very natural, but it's also worth checking in with your players ahead of time if they're comfortable with that player versus player antagonist relationship. At my tables, I enjoy the arguments and confrontations, but I dislike PvP combat, and I'd tend to abstract it away rather than relying on the usual dice mechanics. If things come to a head and that character just cannot carry on with the rest of the group, if their morals are so far apart, if their values just do not coincide in any way, then it's okay to retire that character. have your player roll up somewhere new, it's really not the end of the world. However, I would still be looking for any way possible to redeem this situation. Maybe that character goes on an off-screen journey of self-discovery, coming back in later sessions with a slightly changed outlook on life, in a way that can actually work together with the rest of the party. Hopefully things never actually get to that stage. If you've built your characters together with your players and the rest of the group's been involved, you should find some of that common ground. As GM, when you're thinking about these characters and how they're going to work together, you'll be thinking about the arcs and the stories which might happen, the way in which these characters might change over time. It can be tempting from a game master's perspective and from the player's side to think, okay, I've got this nasty character, I need to make them nice. And the temptation can be to kind of rush through that, to have in the first couple of game sessions this massive change in their character where they go from being very selfish and closed off to, yay, I'm a team player now. That doesn't feel particularly realistic, and you don't really get much of a payoff from that. Much better is to accept that the first 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 sessions will have this character in their original state. And this will be the setup for them to establish this baseline behaviour. Everyone knows this person's a liar, a thief, a scoundrel, and here's lots of examples we've had during play. But in that time, as a player and as the GM, you can both be seeding little clues that the character maybe isn't happy with who they are, that they maybe want to change their stars and become someone else, someone more interesting, more nuanced. This character arc and this story, it won't be particularly satisfying if it happens too soon. It's got to be something that's a bit of a slow burn. If you're looking for good examples and for inspiration for these character arcs, then Explosive Creation by Ryan Doyle has got you covered. This is the criminal page and it is perfect. The stories of these liars and thieves and scoundrels, they can be some of the most interesting tales that we can tell around our tables. In fiction, we are spoilt for choice for inspiration. There's Bilbo Baggins, there's Carmen Sandiego, there's Dexter, there's Moist von Lipwig, there's Locke Lamora. Each of these characters is up to no good. They're up to crimes and shenanigans, but we root for them nonetheless. And it's because these characters are likeable, there's more to them than just their thieving ways, that we get behind them and we want them to win. If you can bring a little bit of that inspiration from them, then you are going to tell fantastic stories around your tables. For more wisdom on the narrative, roleplay and storytelling aspects of running TTRPGs, these 2 videos should have you covered. I will see you there, where we can be storytellers together with our friends.